Hi, I'm Dialogical Ray from Twitter, and I encourage better dialogue for enjoying life after trauma. In this short film, I share the 7 stages that I've found it helpful to divide my problem-solving process into, which I found helps me in life. There are many ways to get better and recover after trauma, and some of which I've experienced, but most of which I do not know about. But I'm curious to find out more about these different ways that people find that work for people in their recovery adventure or their journey through life. I'm now enjoying my life after experiencing sexual abuse as a child. In my journey, I've travelled for several years in a self-destructive story or narrative where I drank and took drugs to a repetitive excess to numb the emotional pain of the trauma. And I had many years of unemployment whilst using psychiatric services, including 7 admissions to the psychiatric hospital and 7 different psychiatric diagnoses. But then I found ways to get better. I used to feel stigma, guilt and shame around my experiences, but now I do not. I think part of breaking the stigma and shame around experiencing trauma, addiction and mental health problems is for people to share their experiences and to show others that recovery and getting better is possible. Everyone has issues, I think, because we're human beings and it's normal to have issues. So instead of there being a them and us, it might be that we've all got problems, some more than others, but recovery and getting better is always possible. For me, I've been many years in recovery now. I'm happily married. I've raised 2 children. I work helping to run a service for people with multiple complex needs. So, reflecting on my journey, I've noticed there are 3 levels on which I've got better and changed over the years. One of these levels is on the narrative or story level. We all live within stories and narratives where we've got hopes for the future and we kind of explain the past and we edit our experiences, not to tell everything to everyone, but to share edited versions, which are like stories or narratives. And so that's one of the levels. And we can jump between narratives as we disbelieve some, like I disbelieved that kind of self-destructive story about my life, and that helped me to believe in other narratives that help me get better. And we can believe in new narratives. So that's one level. The second level I've noticed I've got better at over the years is at the problem-solving level. And I found it helpful to divide the problem-solving process into 7 stages, which I'll explain in a minute. I'll just mention the third level I've noticed I can get better at is at the level, habit level. And these are the combinations of thoughts, emotions and actions that I can practice daily. For example, being brave or listening to others, I would consider at the habit level. And I can get better at sort of habits. In this film, I'm going to share my thoughts and reflections on the second level I've mentioned, which is the problem-solving level. When I've got a problem, it doesn't have to be a big problem, it could be a medium-sized or a small problem, but I found it helpful to divide it into these 7 stages. And these stages are, number 1, to describe the problem in a reasonable way, with trying not to exaggerate it or minimise it or deny it, just describe it fairly reasonably. Then the second stage is to say how I feel about it. Do I feel anxious, annoyed? Do I feel overwhelmed by it? Do I feel irritated? The third stage is then to consider if there's any conflict with other people about how to solve the problem. And I consider that. The fourth stage is I consider if I need some cooperation from other people to help solve the problem. I might need to ask for some help. Some problems are small and I can solve them myself, but often problems involve asking for some cooperation. The fifth stage is I make a plan to solve it. I mean, if it's a small problem, the plan might only take 3 or 4 seconds to form in my head. Bigger problems I might need to think through and chat to other people more about. The sixth stage is I put some action into the plan and try to solve the problem. And finally, the 7th stage is I reflect, and that might involve dialogue with other people on how well the process has worked. Have I solved a problem? Has it not been solved? And I consider what have I learned and what would I do differently or change in the future if I held in mind what I have learned from this as I go forward. If the problem's not solved, I reflect and consider if whether to try the stages again. I could just have another go at describing the problem, and I may have learnt some more things, and then I have a go at how I feel about it. I might feel a bit more frustrated than at first, and I just work through those stages again. Or else I could zoom down to another level, like that habit level I mentioned, and think about whether there's a problematic habit that keeps kind of tripping me up or causing me problems, trying to solve the problem, and in my journey of life. Like it could be that I anxiously avoid something, or I wasn't listening well to other people, so I think about the habit level. Or if the problem still isn't solved, I can zoom out. Instead of zooming into the habit level, I can zoom out to the narrative or the bigger stories of our life level and consider if the difficulty with the problem is neither at the habit level nor at the problem solving in 7 stages level, but is it that I maybe need to change the bigger narratives or stories that I'm living my life in. That's a big change, but I've done that several times in my life, and people do change their narratives. And I can think about different stories that I could live my life in. I could go and find a better narrative to believe in and live in that, and that could change. So then I might not need to solve the problem because I'm going in a different direction. So they're the 3 levels. And the one I've talked about most today is just the problem-solving level in 7 stages. It's just some thoughts that I've gathered together, reflecting on my experiences on my journey through life. There are many other ways to get better that I don't know about. I'm really keen on the idea that no one set of ideas should monopolise the dialogue around different ways to get better after trauma and get better at life. If you find any of this helpful, or if you have a very different experience of what helps you get better after please let me know via Twitter. I'm at dialogical_Ray on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Tweet to let me know what you thought, and let's open up the dialogue to find many different points of view. I encourage better dialogue for enjoying life after trauma. I'm really enthusiastic about life, and I think it's good having had a tough time previously. So let's end the stigma together, and remember that recovery from trauma is possible even in many different ways. So thanks for listening, and I'll catch you later on Twitter.